Well, we have Earth-directed CME coming. The sun is just so blazingly hot. It's crazy. We're not even into summer yet. But we had an Earth-directed solar flare. Again, flares are going off on the same longitude now for a couple weeks. And that's where, of course, the 90-degree magnetic connection breaks with the surface plasma. Breaks from what? From planet X. This is 95 angstroms, which is 9.5 nanometer radiation. Extreme, extreme, far ultraviolet. This is ionizing radiation, causing the release of gamma. So notice the checkerboard pattern in the corona, not on the plasma, but in the out towards the edges of the frame. Let me just add some brightness, and there you go. That kind of pattern is associated with interacting waves. The sun has waves going out of a certain wavelength, which is in this case 9.5 nanometers, far ultraviolet. But then there's also far ultraviolet coming in from a different direction, a different source, a different radiant point. So then those get picked up on special telemetry, and you'll see this checkerboard pattern in the corona of the sun. This is 33 nanometer. 33 nanometer is the ionization of helium. Well, helium ionizes on the sun, so then the sun would radiate 33.5 nanometer. But then when helium from outside the solar system ionizes, there's a different radiant point. Those waves travel in a different direction. And when they intersect with the sun's rays, you get this checkerboard pattern. And this has been a predominant feature for at least the last 5-6 years. And we point it out from time to time because we notice it getting more and more pronounced. And especially in 2016, 2017, when the Earth was leaving, or the sun was leaving solar maximum into solar minimum. And here's the point on the sun. This should look familiar to you, this longitude. Earth has moved to the right a little bit. So the 90-degree point is a little to the left of the center of the frame. But that's was very well mixed, still is, and in terms of positive versus negative. So we're looking for it to possibly keep shooting off flares. The flares left the sun at about 450, 500 kilometers a second, which isn't terribly fast, but it may not catch the coronal hole stream that's in front of this. So today we got hit probably by the coronal hole stream. I haven't checked. But Sunday and Monday figures to be intense radiation days. And so you need to take precautions. These cosmic rays, they come in at night, but at least they're not being combined with all this extra radiation. And so the daytime is very, very concerning. They have children playing t-ball. In the direct sunlight. That's what's worried me all these years, was playgrounds. And this is 193 or 195 angstroms, which is 19.5, again, far ultraviolet. And we don't see as much of this coming off the sun. But again, notice those filaments at the lower left. Notice how they kind of go together. And that's really significant of a very high wind speed at the crest of the sun. The crest of the sun for a second wind. Here is a diagram of that CME. You can see a wave shooting out past the Earth. Earth is that yellow circle on the left-hand side simulation. It's going to blow right through Earth. It doesn't show it mixing with the coronal hole stream, but notice that green spiral coming out. Well, you know, that very well may be a coronal hole stream. If they mix, you're going to have some intensity. You're going to see also an increase in the geoengineering. Really very heavy geoengineering. So you wonder why the elite have underground bunkers. I always thought it was this, but maybe it's, you know, the quote-unquote Russian boogeyman may try to nuke us. But that would be stupid for anybody to engage in nuclear exchange. So if it happens, I would say it was planned. And anyways, that's just me. Here, these speckled dots are flashes in the corona. We don't notice an increase in that flashing. Maybe even a slight decrease, which would be good. But all those particles in the corona, some of those are releasing very, very potent, far extreme ultraviolet. Now, extreme ultraviolet is ionizing in itself. If that's far ultraviolet hits an atom, it can strip the electron off the atom. It can excite the atom so much that it loses its electrons. When that happens, you know, the electron itself releases electromagnetic radiation and sometimes even gamma radiation. So it's a very high energy correlation to the interaction of a second wind, a second solar wind. And when you they're talking about it now on mainstream, so it can't be conspiracy theory anymore. When they finally, it's in your face so badly, they have to save credibility with the scientists and acknowledge in a slow rolling disclosure that we're at an all-time high for cosmic rays. Well, 75% of the people who hear that on mainstream don't really even get what they're talking about. Nobody's really pushing the implications and the effects that it's having on us. But again, this sunspot's going to mix even further. We're going to have even more coming our way. And, you know, if the sun is intense now, you can just imagine what it's going to be like in May and July. I mean, it's 90 degrees in some places today. Welcome to spring. And remember, for several years now, we really haven't had spring and fall. We seem to go from winter to summer. The spring and fall seem to be a matter of 2 to 3 weeks, maybe a month. And then all of a sudden, here comes summer or here comes winter. Now, so, I mean, you got to prepare for this, but it's because of these extracosmic rays, which are particles. They're atoms that come from another sun or other suns. People will try to tell you supernovas. We're going through a supernova. Somebody will say we're going through an energy wave. Well, you know, whatever you call it, the radiation is coming in, and it's wreaking havoc. The cancers, you know, people getting cancer are getting 3 cancers. And now with the COVID crap happening, and the immune suppression and the immune stress that's happening with these biological stuff that we're experiencing, the cancers may even be more aggressive. Because remember, COVID can, the spike protein itself, may be able to deplete your CD4 white cells and your CD8 white cells, which makes you less immune to certain diseases. One of those being cancer. So, if that is true, and I'm not saying it is, but if that is true, then, you know, adding radiation to the mix is not a healthy formula to be getting this radiation. Again, reflective barriers. And we're going to make a video on how we make those panels that are super, super reflective. They have 60 layers of aluminum in it, really simple. You just got to be able to find the correct aluminum product, and you can find them usually in Dollar General. You might be able to find them in grocery stores, but basically it's 30 sheets of foil that are folded in half, which gives you 60 layers. Then you take those boxes of foil and you connect them together and you place them inside a reflective bag. That bag has a handle on it. You can attach it 1,000 different ways. You can even fold the handles inward. You can roll up your window and just put the seam in there. Or you can put the corner and make a diamond shape in your window so that you can see out pieces of the window. But you're going to want to really protect your windows, and you put reflective barrier on your windows. And the way things are getting expensive, there's no better time than now to go get a roll of reflective barrier. It's really not that expensive, but it is getting more expensive by the day. So go get yourself rolled foil, and it's a great investment. And really, if your children are playing in the sun, you've got to give them protection. They have to be wearing rated hats. And we're going to try to get back some of those hats. The last batch, all we had was green. I hated it. It made you look like a Japanese World War II soldier. But basically, you put aluminum foil in the back. And what we're trying to get is ones for children. The adults are unisize. You have an adjustable size on them. But we want a flap in the back to protect the brainstem, because that's your most susceptible and active part of your brain. Radiation targets activity, active cells. That's the most active part of your brain. Unfortunately, it's also the most exposed part of your brain, your brainstem, because it extends down below the skull. Also, the eyeballs and the orbits of your eyes, very thin bone behind the eye. So these things pass right through your eyes and into your brain. So, right behind your eyes, if you go straight through the brain, is the brain stem. So you can really cook your brain stem if you're not careful. And I laugh because it's inappropriate laughter, but I'm trying to emphasize just how intense it can be on the brainstem of a growing child. It causes cellular death, cellular inflammation. And if you do have brainstem issues, you will have stiff neck and a headache that radiates from or to the neck. The best thing for that kind of headache is to take an anti-inflammatory like ibuprofen and use ice. Use a lot of ice. And if you can, breathe oxygen. So, and I'm getting some help. Finally, I'm getting some help. I'm getting some stuff that I promised people out. I'm getting improved skin formulas to people who had bought it in the past, and because of the supply chain problem, we made a denser skin care product that was really meant for winter and did really good at preventing chafing of the skin from the cold. It really protected the skin well, and it was really great for heels and cracked heels. It was great for as lip balm, but we want to get those people, the original skincare products that they liked. And so we're getting help. I'm mailing out the garlic pills, and they're starting to go out now. I promised to give back to my Patreon subscribers, and that process is finally starting. Sorry about the delay in all of this. COVID, it got in the way, all the time. It was always COVID. And when I contracted it, I almost felt like it was pushed on me. I was taking precautions, not the greatest precautions, but I went when the COVID numbers were lowest. So the risk of coming in contact with COVID was at the lowest point since the start of this whole scenario. So those are going out just as an announcement. All Patreon subs that have been with me from the start are going to get, because you need it for your survival supplies. And garlic is great for urinary tract and teeth, tooth infection, gum infections. Also helpful with other infections as well. One time I got a spider bite on my chest, and it started to grow like a recluse bite. And a lot of spiders can cause a recluse-like infection. And it eats your skin, and the wheal grows, and the middle of the wheal is like dead tissue, and you put on Neosporin, and it didn't work. It didn't work for me. So what did I do? I took garlic oil, and I took colloidal silver, and then I mixed that with DMSO in a little capsule. And the DMSO is a solvent, but also aids in absorption. And so I mixed the colloidal silver with the garlic, and it mixed pretty well, even though the silver was water soluble and the garlic is an oil. And I rubbed that really well into my spider bite, and by the next morning it was like on its way out, after treating it for 5 or 6 days and not having it really respond very well. So the garlic oil is going to be important. It's nice to have an antibiotic in your medicine cabinet. The other antibiotic that actually is really good, I hate it though, is oregano oil. I don't know the dosing on it, but you can only drink so much. 1 drop is enough, in a big glass of something. And I always wondered, how do people take that crap? The other thing about oregano oil, it's one of the most powerful, how do I say this? It dissolves the biofilms produced by certain bacteria and certain yeast. The biofilm is that slimy, polysaccharide-based substance that offers protection from antibiotics, especially for Lyme disease, spirochetes, which can produce a biofilm. If you have mucus in your nose and that mucus is sticky instead of slimy, that's a biofilm in your nose. I do not recommend putting oregano oil up your nose. If you did that, whoever told you to do that, you would hate them for the rest of your life. Do not put oregano oil up your nose. Colloidal silver, yes, but not oregano oil. So if you have colloidal silver, if you have oregano oil, if you have garlic oil, if you have those 3 things, you have a 75% protection over bacterial infections. And the colloidal silver also helps you against viral infections and fungal infections. So that's huge. So get those in your emergency kit, because people leave their emergency kits shy of antibiotic related substances. And last but not least, drinking chlorophyll, liquid chlorophyll every day will protect you not only from the ionizing ultraviolet, but the ionizing X-rays and gamma radiation. The extreme, I just found articles on it, I'm going to be making a video, the extreme ultraviolet, the 9.5 nanometers, the 30 nanometers, those are damaging DNA in your skin and probably just underneath your skin. So the chlorophyll helps you against all forms of radiation. It absorbs radiation. It was designed to absorb radiation. Also, the chlorophyll reaction produces oxygen. So chlorophyll actually produces oxygen in your bloodstream. So you would want to take 1 to 2 tablespoons in 16 ounces of water twice a day. And don't take it with prescription meds because it will bind to prescription meds. And until next time, be prepared, not scared.